Ooh, this is what we're doing. Hello! Today I thought I would show my 2018 want list. I finished 2017 early, so that was kind of cool. I was going to wait till near the end of the year, but I think what I'll do is show it now. And if I get something before the end of the year, great. If not, we can look at it then. But I took a long time making this. I looked at it, and I think there's for me at least, kind of a feeling to not put really big books on there, because then I guess you kind of set yourself up for failure. And it's, more I thought it's really not a failure. It's great to want these things, and they're books that I always wanted, and some of them are books that I really hadn't thought about before I got back into collecting. For a long time, I started collecting in 1974, and then around 92, 93, I just quit. When I used to get comics mail order, and I remember it was probably the second, maybe the third box of books that I got in. I didn't even cut the tape on them. They were just sitting there. I just had completely lost my interest in comic books at that time. They were just, I had life stuff going on, getting married and starting a family and all that, but it was more that they just, to me, they didn't excite me anymore. It wasn't, they weren't, I don't feel good anymore. So, and then late 2012, more 2013, I really got back into them, and it's been great ever since. I do read some of the new stuff. I'm not as big on it. I think to a large degree, the stories are kind of just rehashed to me, it feels like. I'm sure if you're new to comics and you haven't read all the stuff from the 60s and 70s and 80s, it probably feels new, but a lot of it just feels rehashed or kind of twisted around. And one thing that I never like is when they retcon things, and that just seems like to be pretty much all they do these days. And instead of creating new characters, they just take old characters and change their gender or their race or whatever, and that just seems silly to me. I think if you want to have new characters like that, that's great to represent who's reading your books, but create new characters. If the characters are so good, they should be able to stand on their own. You shouldn't take a character that is well established for decades and either kill them off or alter them just so that you can take that known established character and then slide your new ideas into it. Create a new character, and if it stands, it does. It means it's a good character. If it doesn't, then obviously it's crap. So that's just how I feel about it. And going through this list and going through collecting since I've been back in, I noticed more and more that I've gone back and read those stories. And if you read some of the Silver Age stories, it's not that they're not good. It's just they were written for different age. I really think they were written for 10-year-old boys mostly. The concepts are great, but if you read the dialogue and what actually goes on, they are kind of silly. So I think to a large degree that's why I'm a cover collector, because I really enjoy the older comics more for art than the actual stories or the heroes. Because when it comes right down to it, these are kind of stories for kids with about people running around in tights. So I've noticed lately I've been skewing more towards the old Western books and the horror books, science fiction, Werewolf by Night, a lot of the old DC, weird science books, things like that. I seem to enjoy those a lot more. I think because when I got into comics, we didn't have the internet and we didn't have video games and we didn't have a lot of the other stuff people had. We had 3 channels on TV. So to a large degree, my main focus of entertainment was comic books and reading. I've always read books. So I think now that you have so much going on, the comic books are have a hard time competing with a lot of things, because back when I was a kid, they were kind of dynamic. You had comic books and you had Saturday morning cartoons, and as a kid, that was the things that really were entertaining as hell to you, and you waited. You couldn't wait. I can remember Fridays they'd have the sneak peek of what new comic books, what new cartoons were going to come out on Saturday morning, and it was usually the night before the first day of school or something like that. It was real close to it, because I can remember just being around the neighborhood, and neighbor was mostly my cousins and stuff, but we'd all be in a circle on the dirt driveway with our bikes and talking about, what new cartoons were coming out. I can remember cartoons like the Herculoids or Thundar the Barbarian and things like that. And by today's standards and by the cartoons and movies that are out there, they don't seem that good. But for us, that was as close as we got to comic books, on TV. So it was really, really cool. So it's fun making these lists. So if you don't have one, even if you never get a book off of there, I think it's great. I liked what ETA Nick did with his. It's like a 3-year plan, to where I think he's going to get these books, and then he's kind of like I'm set. I have everything I want. He will get other stuff, I'm sure, but it was kind of a neat approach. And I guess, like I always say, if I don't get something on my list, it just rolls over to the next list. I didn't think I was going to get everything on my 2017, and I did. So it's kind of cool. So anyway, that's what we're doing, and I'll show you the list now. Yep, here's the list. 2018, first one up. These aren't in any order, just as they came to me. All-Star Western number 10. It's the first appearance of Jonah Hex. I love the cover, and as I've been getting into more Westerns, I think it's one that I really want to get this year. I always like that character because it's kind of a cross of I guess John Wayne and Doctor Strange. Anyway, next one up. Uncanny X-Men 94. As a kid, this was kind of the gold standard in the Bronze Age as far as when you talk to other kids that were collectors. The first thing everyone always wanted to know, you got an X-Men 94. And I have one. It's pretty beat up and tattered. So I'd like to get one that's decent. Doesn't have to be great. None of these I'm looking to get bleeding edge. 9.4s or better. I'm totally fine with, a nice 7.0 without any major flaws, I guess. Amazing Spider-Man 102. I was able to get 101, which is a great cover, but in a lot of ways, I like 102 a little bit better because it has Spider-Man swinging with the 6 arms, which I kind of started collecting right after that whole thing went, so I would hear it referenced every now and again, and I didn't, you couldn't go back and get things. They didn't really have back issues like that when I started collecting in 74. Plus I was only 5 years old, so it wasn't like I was going to jump in the car and go get it. But next one, Detective Comics 402. That is my favorite Batman cover. I know I thought of it when I did the top 10 favorite Batman covers video earlier in the year. I realized that to a large extent I don't have my favorite Batman covers, and this is one of them. So I'm gonna get that this year, 2018. Next is Strange Tales 114. That is Marvel's kind of tryout to see, test the waters to see if people were excited to have Captain America come back. So they had a Captain America lookalike. I think it was the Acrobat was his name, show up in the Human Torch's Strange Tales book to see how it was. And a few months later it came out in Avengers number 4. So sorry, spoilers if you haven't read a 60-year-old book, but that's what happens in it. Miss Marvel number 1. I almost had the complete run of these. I think I need 18, maybe 2 or 3 other ones, but this will help me complete my run. I remember when this came out, I thought it was really neat that they gave her own book, and the character really developed after that, so it's just one I want to get. Justice League 19. This is one of my favorite covers, probably my second favorite. I like Justice League 64 the best because it's got Red Tornado on it, and I think it's a pretty dynamic, cool cover. But this one's neat because it shows what appears to be the Justice League boarding a rocket ship, and they're going to send them off the planet because they think they're traitors. But if you look closely in the crowd, it's the the uncostumed or alter egos of all the Justice League. You see Clark Kent and all of them standing around in the background and in the foreground. So it's kind of a clever cover, and just one I've always liked, and I'm going to try to get it. X-Men, Giant Size number 2. Now this was the first X-Men book that I ever remember seeing or purchased. I still have my original copy. Its cover's been taken off. It's back on now. I have it in a bag, but I think I'm missing like the first 3-4 pages. This is one of the comic books that I mentioned that's definitely in my landfill collection. That it traveled everywhere with me when I got it. I read it constantly, and it's they're reprints, I believe, of the Steranko run, and I think it's Neil Adams covers. It's the whole Sentinel story arc. So this covers a lot of it, but then it kind of ends in a cliffhanger. So I have these digitally now, so I've read the stories, but it's just a book that I love the Gil Kane cover on it, and I want to get it again. I want it in a nicer copy that I can, look at and enjoy. And then Marvel Premiere. It's kind of the, I guess, first appearance of Warlock. He had appeared as the Cocoon in Fantastic Four 67, and then again in, it was at 164 as him in Thor. But this is, I think, the first time that he appeared as they started calling him Warlock. He had a strange run in, if you think about that character in the 60s, and then the different name changes, and he showed up in different books, and they kind of altered him. And in this one, it was different yet. And I mean, he was in Marvel Premiere, then he was in, he had his, The Power of Warlock, which then turned into Warlock, and then I believe he was in, what was it, Strange Tales as well. So he has a very strange run. It's definitely one I think is probably easiest to read if you get it in a trade paperback. So I think I'll do that, but I want to get Marvel Premiere 1. And we'll see what's next. Next one is a book that I really, really want. It's a big book, and hopefully I can get it this year. I look for it a lot, and I hope I'll get it this year. But it's Avengers #4, the Silver Age appearance or resurrection of Captain America, and it's a book I've always wanted. The cover is great. I've seen other better covers than that. I kind of almost just wish it was just Captain America on the cover, but it is a team book, so I get why they did it the way they did. But it's one I definitely want to get. And again, grade. I'm not going to shy away from a higher grade, but I'm not going to go crazy and spend a giant amount of money. But that's my list, and we'll see how many of them I actually get. Well, that's my 2018 list. This is my co-host, Daisy. She helped in the filming of this video. So hopefully I get them. We'll see what happens. And thanks for watching. Till next time, keep reading.